Let's use Lightwave's fiber effects to quickly put a full coat of hair on this dog model here. So let's dive right in. I'm going to go ahead and Control F8 to open up the processing tab so I can add fiber filter. Double click and open that up. Now I need to decide what objects in the scene I want to apply hair to. I actually have two objects in the scene. His teeth and eyes and stuff are on a different in a different object. They don't have to be, as we'll see that we can control based on surface, but this particular model was set up that way. So I'm just going to select the first layer here, which is going to be the base dog, and activate it. I'm going to go ahead and draw in OpenGL so that I don't have to worry about rendering and I can see, yeah, that would be one shaggy dog. I'm going to go ahead and lower that. So let's do 100 and much better. So I didn't have to render to discover that, and that's one of the reasons that I love the OpenGL feature. For density, I want to turn this up, so I'm going to go 80. And as we can see, OpenGL loses that. Now, if we really don't want that to happen, I can come over to the Etc. tab, and on Scene Edge Limit, I'm just going to add a couple zeros to the end there, and there we go. If you find that OpenGL starts running slow for you later on, you can always limit this. It's kind of like a bounding box type threshold. So let's jump back over here. And let's play with our settings. I want to style this. This, in my opinion, wouldn't be a good set of fur on there. The first thing that I think I should do is limit where the fur is. I see fur growing out of the nose and eyeballs and things like that. I don't like that. So for the surface, instead of all, I'm just going to use base skin. Now, it's not going to update until I refresh, so I'm just going to use my right and left key, and then you can see already, without rendering, we're not going to have hair growing out of the nose, which in this case is important. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of our settings. Kink of 100 is pretty high, so I'm going to lower that to 5. I don't want frizzy hair. If I did, then I could keep that. I could keep that a little higher. But I do want to splay it a bit, so I'm going to go with 20 for splay. I'm not going to worry about any tufts on this one, though I'm a big fan of using the tuft setting. Stray, we'll leave that at 20, 50. One of the nice things that I like about the default settings is you get pretty good hair right out of the back, so I don't have to worry about changing some of these right now. Clump, though I'm a big fan of clump, you see it in a lot of my fur samples, I'm going to actually leave that at 0. But for bump, let's go into the texture editor. Let's use turbulence. And for my turbulence setting, instead of 80%, let's crank that up a little bit. Sometimes I go really extreme, but for this, I'm just going to stay around 100. But I do want to size this down a bit, so I'm going to go with about 20 millimeters. Okay, and that should work. We'll keep it at 100. Remember that even if you have 100% in bump, if there's nothing over in this texture editor, it's as if there's no bump. Now for scale, I want to play with scale a little bit. I want to just have it so that we'll do scale. We have 100%, but I want to drive it with a gradient. So I'm going to come over to layer type, gradient, and for my input parameter, I'm going to say slope. So based on the geometry that is pointing up versus the geometry that starts to point down. Let's lower the 0. Let's do 75, and let's set a key down here. Let's do 85. No, let's crank it up just so that we can see a big difference. So I'm going to do 110. Yeah, we'll do 110. Okay, so we're basically going to vary the scale based off of the slope of the geometry. And then the last thing that I want to do is for gravity, I want to crank that up. I really want to pull the hair down, and you can see in OpenGL it's really pulling the hair down, which is gonna give us a nice dog hair look. So let's do a render, and as we can see, actually I just closed it down. I didn't get to see the render time. I'm going to do that again. And 3.3 seconds was the last render time, and 3.3 seconds was this render time. So that's pretty fast render there. Of course, somebody's thinking, but what about shadows? Well, I always do a render without shadows just to see if I like what's going on with the hair, and I do, except for one thing. I'm glad I didn't turn shadows on because I would rather change the color before I increase my render time. So I'm going to go over to color. For the mix mode, I'm going to change it to textured, and let's do a gradient. I'm a big fan of the fiber U. I'm going to have the base of the fibers be a dark kind of maroon rosy color. Okay, and then I'm going to go with just a brown. A brown will work there, and you can just kind of play with the colors that you think work best. And then I'll just go a little dark again. Okay, so this is the root and this is the tip. So I'm just kind of playing with the gradient there. And let's do a render. 3.3 seconds, and I'm liking that color a whole lot more, especially when I can envision what's going to happen with the shadows. So let's go over to render globals, and turn on ray trace shadows and get a render, and I think we'll be where we need to be. Okay, so 8.5 seconds. Yeah, we did increase our render time from 3.3, but 8.5 seconds, I can handle that. I love the speed of this thing. So there we go. We've got a nice little coat of hair on this dog. We've got some nice randomness going on. The bump is driving that. The gravity's pulling it down. Got a little more length going in areas based off of slope. And there we go. So make sure that you experiment with a lot of these settings, especially with the texture editor for the different attributes, and you can get some really nice effects fast. No combing, no editing of guides or guide creation, just going in and playing with the attributes based on the texture editor.